The day Ethan graduated from college was supposed to be the beginning of his life. As he stood in his cap and gown, surrounded by smiling classmates and proud families, he imagined all the possibilities waiting for him. He had spent years studying, working part-time jobs, and sacrificing weekends to earn his degree. His professors praised his dedication, and several companies had already shown interest in hiring him. For the first time in years, he felt hopeful. His parents sat in the audience that day, clapping politely when his name was called. Ethan noticed that their excitement seemed forced, but he pushed the thought aside. He had spent most of his childhood trying to earn their approval. Maybe now, after graduating, they would finally see him differently. Maybe they would finally be proud. 2 weeks later, everything changed. His younger brother Ryan was involved in a serious car accident. The call came late at night. Ethan still remembered the panic in his mother's voice as she explained that Ryan had suffered multiple injuries and would require months of recovery. Without hesitation, Ethan rushed to the hospital. When he saw Ryan lying in a hospital bed connected to machines, his heart broke. Ryan wasn't just his brother, he was his best friend. The doctors explained that Ryan would survive, but his recovery would be long and difficult. He would need help walking, bathing, eating, attending appointments, and managing medications. The entire family was devastated. At first, Ethan did what any loving brother would do. He stayed at the hospital. He comforted Ryan. He helped wherever possible. When his parents asked if he could postpone his job search for a few weeks, he immediately agreed. Family comes first, his father told him. It's only temporary. His mother added. Ethan believed them. A few weeks became 2 months. 2 months became 6. By then, Ryan had returned home, but his recovery was progressing slowly. Ethan had become the primary caregiver almost without realizing it. Every morning began before sunrise. He prepared breakfast, organized medications, helped Ryan get dressed, cleaned the house, handled laundry, cooked meals, and drove him to physical therapy appointments. The responsibilities consumed his entire day. Whenever Ethan mentioned returning to work, his parents found a reason why he couldn't. What if Ryan falls while we're gone? You're the only one he trusts. How can you think about yourself at a time like this? Each comment filled him with guilt. So he stayed. Months passed. The job opportunities he once had slowly disappeared. Emails from recruiters stopped arriving. Former classmates posted photos celebrating promotions, moving into apartments, and beginning careers. Ethan watched from the sidelines. Whenever he felt frustrated, he reminded himself that Ryan needed him. That was enough, or at least it was supposed to be, but something started bothering him. His parents rarely seemed inconvenienced. His father continued playing golf every weekend. His mother attended social gatherings several nights each week. They took vacations, went to restaurants, visited friends. Meanwhile, Ethan couldn't remember the last time he had a day off. One evening, after spending nearly 12 hours helping Ryan through a difficult therapy session, Ethan sat down at the dinner table, completely exhausted. His hands trembled from fatigue, his back ached. All he wanted was a few hours to himself. Instead, his mother looked at him and said, "Don't forget Ryan's appointment tomorrow morning." Ethan nodded, then she added, "And the laundry needs to be folded before bed." Not a thank you, not an acknowledgement. Just another task. Something inside him hurt. For 3 months he had devoted every waking hour to helping the family. Yet nobody seemed to notice. Nobody seemed grateful. That night, lying awake in bed, Ethan stared at the ceiling and wondered when his life had stopped belonging to him. The thought made him uncomfortable. He immediately felt selfish for thinking it. Ryan was suffering far more than he was. Ryan needed support. Ryan needed family, so Ethan buried the feeling. He promised himself things would get better soon. He believed the sacrifice would eventually end. What he didn't know was that this was only the beginning. The weeks would become months, the months would become years, and the family he was sacrificing everything for had no intention of ever giving his life back. 3 years. That was how long Ethan had been living a life he never chose. When he first agreed to help Ryan recover, he believed it would last a few months at most. Instead, those months stretched into years, and somewhere along the way, Ethan stopped recognizing the person he had become. Every morning followed the same routine: wake up before everyone else, prepare breakfast, sort medications, help Ryan with physical therapy exercises, clean the house, do the shopping, cook lunch, handle appointments, prepare dinner, finish laundry, then repeat everything again the next day. The responsibilities never ended. Ryan's condition had improved significantly compared to the early days after the accident. He could walk short distances with assistance and perform some daily tasks on his own. Yet somehow, the burden on Ethan never became lighter. In fact, it seemed to grow. Whenever Ryan gained independence in one area, his parents found another responsibility for Ethan to take over. It was as if they had become comfortable with the arrangement. Too comfortable. One afternoon, Ethan received a phone call from an old college friend named Marcus. "There's an opening at my company," Marcus said excitedly. "I showed your resume to my manager. They're interested in meeting you." For the first time in months, Ethan felt a spark of hope. A real job, a real future, a chance to rebuild his life. That evening, he cautiously mentioned the opportunity during dinner. The reaction was immediate. His mother's smile disappeared. His father's expression hardened. A job. His father asked, "Ryan still needs you." "It's just an interview," Ethan replied carefully. His mother shook her head. "I can't believe you're thinking about leaving your brother." The guilt hit him instantly, but I wouldn't be leaving him. Ethan said, "I could help arrange professional care during work hours." The room fell silent, then his father laughed. Not a friendly laugh, a dismissive one. Professional care costs money. The conversation ended there. The interview never happened. A week later, Marcus called again. When Ethan explained why he couldn't accept the opportunity, there was a long silence. Then Marcus asked a question nobody had ever asked before. "Ethan, are they taking advantage of you?" The words stayed with him long after the call ended. Because deep down, Ethan already knew the answer. He just wasn't ready to admit it. As the months continued, the isolation became unbearable. Friends stopped inviting him to events. People eventually stopped calling altogether. Birthdays passed unnoticed. Holiday celebrations felt empty. Even his social media accounts became painful reminders of everything he had lost. Former classmates were buying homes, getting married, building careers, traveling the world. Meanwhile, Ethan spent his days cleaning bathrooms and organizing medication schedules. One evening, relatives came to visit. Ethan spent hours preparing food and making sure everything was ready. As usual, nobody offered to help. While carrying dishes from the kitchen, he overheard laughter coming from the living room. At first, he paid little attention. Then he heard his mother's voice. "We've been lucky to have Ethan." Several relatives nodded. One aunt commented, "Hiring a full-time caregiver must have saved you a fortune." His mother laughed. The sound made Ethan pause. Then she said something that froze him in place. "Why would we hire a caregiver when Ethan does everything for free?" The room erupted with laughter. Ethan's grip tightened around the serving tray. His heart pounded. Before he could move, his father spoke. Honestly, he's easier than any employee. We don't even have to pay him. More laughter followed, then came the sentence that hurt most. He feels guilty whenever he says no. The laughter continued, but Ethan couldn't hear anything else. His ears rang, his chest felt tight. 3 years, 3 years of sacrifice, 3 years of loyalty. 3 years of putting everyone else's needs ahead of his own. And this was how they saw him, not as a son, not as family, not as someone who had given up everything, just free labor, a convenience, a tool. That night, Ethan sat alone in his bedroom. For the first time in years, he allowed himself to cry, not because he was exhausted, not because he had lost opportunities, but because the people he loved most had reduced his entire existence to something they could use. When the tears finally stopped, a strange calm settled over him. The guilt that had controlled him for years suddenly felt weaker. For the first time, he began questioning everything. And for the first time in 3 years, he considered a possibility that once seemed impossible. Maybe the problem wasn't him. Maybe the people he trusted most had betrayed him all along. After overhearing his parents laugh about using him as free labor, something inside Ethan changed. The guilt that had controlled him for years didn't disappear overnight, but cracks had started to form. For the first time, he stopped automatically believing everything his parents told him. Instead, he began paying attention, watching, listening, observing things he had ignored before. Over the next few weeks, Ethan noticed patterns he had never questioned. Whenever relatives visited, his parents spoke proudly about the sacrifices they were making for Ryan. They described themselves as exhausted caregivers who had dedicated their lives to helping their injured son recover. Everyone praised them. Everyone admired them. No one knew that Ethan was doing almost everything. While his parents accepted sympathy and compliments, Ethan quietly cooked meals, cleaned rooms, managed medications, and attended appointments. The more he watched, the more disturbed he became. It felt like he was seeing his family for the first time. One rainy afternoon, Ryan needed help moving some therapy equipment upstairs. Ethan placed his phone on a shelf in the living room before assisting him. Without realizing it, he accidentally activated the voice recorder application. Nearly an hour later, after helping Ryan settle into his room, Ethan returned downstairs. He grabbed his phone and noticed the recording was still running. Curious, he stopped it. At first, he considered deleting the file. Then he saw it had recorded almost 50 minutes of audio. He decided to listen. The first few minutes contained ordinary household sounds. Footsteps, doors opening and closing, television noise. Then he heard his parents' voices. His stomach tightened. They were discussing him. Ethan looks tired lately. His mother said. His father chuckled. I'm not surprised. There was a brief silence. Then his mother spoke again. Do you think he's starting to realize what's happening? Ethan felt his pulse quicken. His father laughed. No, he's too loyal. The words hit him harder than he expected. He continued listening. He still thinks we're helping him by letting him stay here. His father continued, poor boy. His mother laughed softly. The sound sent chills through Ethan's body. Then she said something he would never forget. Ethan still believes we'll help him get back on his feet after Ryan fully recovers. More laughter. The kind shared between people enjoying a private joke. His father responded immediately, why would we? Another laugh. Then came the sentence that shattered whatever hope Ethan still had. He's already wasted 3 years. No company wants someone with a gap that large on their resume. Ethan felt sick. His hands began shaking. He wanted to stop listening, but he couldn't. The recording continued. His mother sounded almost amused. Sometimes I feel a little bad. His father replied instantly, "I don't." Silence. Then he added words that would echo in Ethan's mind forever. "We sacrificed one son to make life easier for the other." Both parents laughed as if they were discussing a clever financial decision rather than a human life. Ethan stared at the phone in disbelief. His entire body felt numb. For years, he had blamed himself whenever he felt unhappy. Whenever he wanted more from life, whenever he dreamed about leaving, his parents had convinced him that his sacrifices were necessary, that he owed them. That family came first. But this recording revealed the truth. They knew exactly what they were doing. They understood every opportunity he had lost, every dream he had postponed, every year he had given away. And they didn't care. The realization was devastating. Yet hidden beneath the heartbreak was something unexpected. Relief. For the first time in years, Ethan understood that he wasn't selfish. He wasn't ungrateful. He wasn't failing his family. He had simply been manipulated. The recording removed every doubt, every excuse, every lie. That night, Ethan listened to the audio 3 more times. Each replay hurt, but each replay also strengthened his resolve. By midnight, he made a decision. He would stop being a victim. Quietly, carefully, he began preparing for the future. He updated his resume, contacted former classmates, gathered personal documents, opened a private bank account. And most importantly, he saved multiple copies of the recording. Then, while organizing paperwork related to Ryan's care, Ethan stumbled upon something even more shocking. Financial records, government assistance forms, benefit payments, thousands of dollars intended for caregiving services. Money his parents had been receiving for years, money they never mentioned, money they kept while Ethan did all the work for free. As he stared at the documents spread across his desk, a cold realization settled over him. The recording was not the end of the story. It was only the beginning. And for the first time in 3 years, Ethan held something more powerful than guilt. He held the truth. For weeks after discovering the recording and financial documents, Ethan told no one. He continued living exactly as before. He woke up early, prepared meals, helped Ryan with therapy, cleaned the house, attended appointments. On the surface, nothing had changed. His parents remained completely unaware that their secret was no longer a secret. They still issued orders without saying thank you, still spoke as if Ethan's life belonged to them, still believed they controlled him, but behind the scenes everything was changing. Every evening, after everyone went to bed, Ethan worked quietly on his escape plan. He organized copies of the recording, gathered financial statements, saved text messages, collected documents proving that government assistance money intended for Ryan's caregiving had been received for years while Ethan performed the work without compensation. The evidence grew larger every week, and so did Ethan's confidence. For the first time in years, he wasn't trapped. He had options. One afternoon, he met with an attorney. After reviewing the documents, the attorney leaned back in his chair. "You've been carrying this family on your shoulders for years," he said. Ethan nodded. The attorney pointed to the financial records. "This evidence could create serious consequences." Ethan wasn't interested in revenge for revenge's sake. He didn't want his parents to suffer. He simply wanted the truth exposed. He wanted freedom, and he wanted his life back. The attorney advised him to proceed carefully, so Ethan waited. He continued gathering evidence while quietly rebuilding his future. He reconnected with former classmates, updated his professional skills, applied for jobs. To his surprise, several companies responded positively. His years as a caregiver had developed valuable organizational, medical coordination, and problem-solving skills. The future no longer seemed impossible. Then an opportunity arrived. A company offered him a full-time position in another city. The salary was good, the benefits were excellent, most importantly, it represented freedom. Ethan accepted immediately. Now it was time for the truth. A week before his departure date, his parents announced a family gathering. Relatives from across the region would be visiting. Family friends would attend. His parents were excited. They loved presenting themselves as devoted parents in front of an audience. Ethan decided that the gathering would be the perfect moment. The evening arrived, the house filled with laughter and conversation. Relatives praised Ethan's parents for their dedication. Guests admired the family's strength. His mother accepted every compliment with a smile. His father proudly spoke about sacrifice and responsibility. The hypocrisy was almost unbearable. Finally, Ethan stood. "I'd like to share something before dinner," he said. The room became quiet. His parents looked surprised but unconcerned. Ethan connected his phone to the living room speaker. His father frowned. "What are you doing?" Ethan didn't answer. He pressed play. The recording began. At first, nobody understood what they were hearing. Then his mother's voice filled the room. "Why would we hire a caregiver when Ethan does everything for free?" The laughter followed. Then came his father's voice. "Honestly, he's easier than any employee." The room fell silent. Guests exchanged confused looks. Ethan's parents turned pale. The recording continued, every cruel word, every insult, every confession, every laugh. Then the devastating sentence echoed through the house. "We sacrificed one son to make life easier for the other." Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. The silence felt endless. For years, Ethan's parents had carefully built an image of themselves. In less than 5 minutes, that image collapsed. His mother tried to explain. His father tried to interrupt. But it was too late. Everyone had heard the truth. The evidence was undeniable. Several relatives left immediately. Others confronted his parents. Some apologized directly to Ethan for never seeing what had been happening. Ryan sat quietly, tears streaming down his face. The recording had hurt him too. For years, he believed his parents were sacrificing alongside Ethan. Now he understood the truth. They had manipulated both of them. The following weeks changed everything. Investigations began regarding the caregiving funds. Relationships fractured. The reputation his parents had spent decades building disappeared almost overnight. And Ethan, he packed his belongings and left. No arguments, no shouting, no dramatic goodbye, just a simple departure toward a better future. Months later, Ethan stood inside his new apartment. A steady career, new friends, a peaceful life. For the first time in years, he felt free. As he unpacked a final box, he found an old family photograph. He stared at it for a moment. Then he placed it in a drawer and smiled. Because he finally understood something important. The sweetest revenge wasn't exposing his parents. It wasn't watching their lies fall apart. It wasn't proving them wrong. The sweetest revenge was building a life so happy, successful, and peaceful that their betrayal no longer had the power to define him. They had stolen 3 years, but they would never steal another day. His future belonged to him now, and that was a victory far greater than revenge.